Hello, everybody. Welcome to Why Invest Wednesday. Already here into May, Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody out there. Today, I just want to sit down, talk about back to our roots here. Why Invest Wednesday. We talked a lot originally about how we were going to talk about why investing in real estate is such a positive and powerful tool to build wealth. And here we are again, back to the original. It's kind of turned into a market update of sorts, but just wanted to, talk about it a little bit. Recently in Denver, by we, I mean City Council passed a law that's requiring landlords to obtain a license to rent out property. And in essence, that sounds great. Obviously, we want to make sure that landlords are not becoming slumlords and, providing a poor place for people to live. So that, in essence, sounds great. Obviously, regulation of any kind is often met with some head-on force for sure. And recently, they passed this law that requires landlords to get licenses every 4 years, requires them to hire an inspector and inspect. And I think a lot of that, we'll see how that turns out here, because if you're going to hire somebody to inspect, a third-party inspector to come in and go through your property, that definitely entails some interesting thoughts. Inspectors, most of you may or may not know that inspectors do not carry licenses in the state of Colorado. So that's an immediate red flag there. They do, I work with people who have certifications and things like that, but they do not have licenses. So they are not regulated. However, they're being brought in to regulate rentals, and they're going to provide you a report. And just like any report or contract, it's going to limit their liabilities. And I read inspection reports for a living, and I have some great inspectors, but I will tell you that their reports all say the same thing as far as, maybe outside of its life expectancy. Hire an HVAC professional, hire a roofing professional to look at this, hire an electrician to look at this, hire a plumber to look at this. Okay, so their job is just to kind of give you a rundown, orientation, so to speak, of the home. And so now we're going to hire these people. Great for my guy, Cody Colblazer over there at Top to Bottom Inspections. Shout out to him. But he doesn't have time to do home inspections for purchases. So I don't know how he's going to fit in time to do inspections every 4 years for all landlords and all buildings. Okay, so that's my first concern. Inspector provides a report, they're protecting their liability, and they're saying, okay, hire an electrician to check out the panel, hire a HVAC guy to look at the furnace and the AC and all this stuff. And if we take that report back to the city and county of Denver and they say, well, you need to do that, then all of a sudden this, what they call a $100 inspection, which I've never heard of, a $150 inspection on a property. They're going to basically take that inspection report and obviously make sure it's livable and safe. They're going to require the landlord to either A, fix a furnace that, life expectancy of furnaces is all over the place. The big one's water heaters. On most inspection reports, they say, average life expectancy of a water heater, 5 to 7 years. So in my estimation, the county could say, well, you need to replace that water heater every 7 years because that inspector, the professional, the unlicensed professional, is saying that it needs to be done. Now, obviously, we see all kinds of red flags, all kinds of problems. The worst part about the bill in general and the law that's now passed is that it really targets like mom and pop investors. Myself, I have five doors myself. Really anybody in the smaller markets, and really gives the corporate side, the people with 250 plus doors, a really big break. And I'll tell you the first reason. The license is going to cost $50 every 4 years. And at first, for a single family home, at first guess, you're like, oh, $50 every 4 years, that's nothing. And so then you continue looking at it and it says, okay, if you have above 250 doors, it's going to be $350 for that same license. And they're going to, require you to inspect, certain properties, a certain amount of the properties you own. another flaw. You get to choose what properties that people inspect. So they're really not doing anything on top of this. So hear me out. So we got $50 for someone who owns one property, a single family home. Their license is going to be $50. If you own 250 properties, doors in a building, their license is going to be $350. So we're charging the big corporate enterprises $1.40 a door at that, and we're charging the mom and pops at $50 a door. Okay, there's that. Then you go into the fact about the inspections and how the big corporates get a, if you have 250 doors, they're obviously not going to make you inspect them all, but you have to inspect a certain percentage of them, and they're going to pick and choose which units to do. So again, we're not doing anything. Like, you have 3, top-notch units, send the inspector in there, just fix the furnace, just did this, just did that. So we're really not holistically helping the tenant. And I get it. Tenants have all kinds of, they're not as represented as obviously somebody who rents out 250 doors. However, this is only going to inhibit them. And there's nothing in there about educating the tenants about their rights, about what they need to do, about taking care of the property, about this or about that. There's no requirement for the tenant. It's just on the landlord. The mom and pop investor is the one that I'm super concerned about, and obviously makes it really difficult to, continue. So now we have this. So, okay, we hire an inspector. They go in, I think it's like 10% of your properties or whatever. So if you have 5 properties, they go into one, they inspect it. They say, okay, do this, do that. Inspection reports again, hire an electrician. Anything they see, an ungrounded outlet or something that's, a safety concern, but every house that's built in the 1950s has ungrounded outlets, and we've all lived pretty well through that piece. So it's just a very slippery slope when you're providing a third party to come in, who the landlord hires, by the way, to come in and do this. And they're not licensed, so they don't have any skin in the game, and they're going to cover their butts as they should. And so it could be a slippery slope. So all of a sudden we're running to, we're really attacking those mom and pop investors is the bottom line. And so we're, all of a sudden we have to replace the furnace, and all our maintenance schedule is all messed up. And granted, I believe that people should take care of their properties, and I work hard to take care of mine. However, the government doesn't need their extra money. Okay, why do we need to pay the government $50 so that we can hire an inspector, so that we can, police ourselves basically? And where's the money going to? Is it going to the homeless? Is it going to, tenant education? Is it going to down payment assistance to get those tenants, out of renting and into home ownership? I don't think any of that's, on the books. And obviously the government bureaucracy of overseeing that, it creates a couple jobs, not a ton, but all this money is going to be dumped into that, and the oversight and, more legislation and litigation and all that stuff. And so it's a big deal for those of you in the city and county of Denver. Now, a lot of us say, yeah, I live in Denver, I own properties. Not anybody outside the city and county of Denver yet, as obviously Denver kind of sets the tone. So if you have rental properties, definitely look into the city council legislature. It is going into effect by 2024, signed earlier this week. And it's a concern, just to make sure that we know what's going on, and hopefully some good will come of it. I'm not here to say that it's all terrible and, that tenants have no rights. That's not what I'm here to say, but educate yourself, especially if you're in the market and you're interested in buying rental properties. It just really bugs me that the government's able to step in and tell you how to manage your investment. Like, you took on the risk of buying this property, you're going to rent it out, you're going to take care of, what you take care of. And absolutely, if properties are in disrepair and, they're terrible living conditions, that's where the government, should step in if the tenant is, not in a spot to do that. So just a very interesting concept here. Going to cost mom and pop investors a ton of money. That is my client base. That is me. And so, if you're in the city and county of Denver, let's talk. That mixed in with possibly the 1031 exchange rules going away, this may be one of your last chances to get out before we're regulated pretty heavily and you're going to pay a pretty hefty tax bill if you decide to get out down the road or whatever. So obviously the 1031 stuff is a secondary thing on the horizon. It hasn't happened yet. People have talked about it, but definitely look into this legislation. It's definitely came down quick. I signed a petition probably 3 or 4 weeks ago by another realtor in town, and they kind of and all of that petition was saying is like, hey, hold on, let's like talk about this, and let's add maybe some tenant education into this. And I'm all for all of that. It's just when they're putting on third parties and bringing third parties in, and they say that it's going to not be a big deal, but I know that when you read an inspection report, there's definitely like CYA items. Okay, they open the furnace. They can't open up the heat exchanger to make sure it's not cracked at the inspection. So they always say, okay, have the furnace. If it's not brand new, if it's more than 6 months old, they're going to say, have someone clean and service the furnace, because they can't physically get into the heat exchanger, take it apart, and do those things to make sure it's okay. So then all of a sudden now we have to have a $250 cleaning and HVAC inspection. Anything to do with electrical, plumber, higher licensed plumber, if there's corroded pipes or, things like that. Well, there are corroded pipes in houses all across the world that don't leak and don't, but they're going to take those steps. And so if you have that report, you turn it into the county, they're going to say, okay, do this. And then, we're not even talking about, replace your smoke alarms every, 3 years or whatever, which none of us do. And things like that, fire extinguishers and all that stuff, which can be in working order, even though it's, older. Old things do work actually a lot better than new things. So that's just my concern. I feel like it's a little bit quick to the punch to kind of police landlords and put things all on the landlord. And at the same time, we're not helping tenants. And we're not, like, if this money was all going towards, the home ownership thing, I absolutely would be in agreement that, let's help everyone kind of achieve the American dream, education wise and financially wise and things like that. If it had some of that and actually was directed at helping the tenants become homeowners, okay, let's talk about it and let's be fair. Let's come from a fair standpoint, instead of landlords are making all this money and not keeping up their properties. And, that's a very small percentage that landlords become slumlords. So that's that piece on that. As you can tell, I have a couple of new branding things here. I did join eXp Realty. You can check that out on my YouTube channels, things like that. Please like, subscribe, comment. Tell me what you think. Maybe I'm way off base for this, and maybe it's absolutely needed. I've had some conversations with some people that own properties that I know recently, and even today about this, and good points on either side. It's just regulation without fully thinking it through, and doing that piece really kind of concerns me. So let's talk a little bit about sports, lighten up the mood a little bit here. The Rockies are terrible. They did have a sweet comeback last night, but they're bad. Definitely just count the days till we can release, Trevor Story to a more notable franchise. They struggle. I think their coach is actually pretty good. I just think the ability to build the team from the back end is not there. So the Broncos had a pretty okay draft. People were a little concerned. We got all excited that Aaron Rodgers was coming, and now he's not coming, and now he is, and now we're tampering and all this stuff. So I got super excited. I'm a Broncos season ticket holder, pseudo Broncos season ticket holder, and Aaron Rodgers to the Broncos would be super sweet. The Nuggets are really good at times. They did win 9 of 10 recently, but they went to the Lakers, who have nobody on the roster and they're hurt all the time, and they lost. So they can be really bad. That concerns me for the playoffs a little bit. As we edge closer, all my memories are coming up from going to playoff games and things. We're a little bit delayed on the COVID schedule, but we're almost there. The playoffs, the Nuggets and the Avalanche will both be in there. Speaking of the Avalanche, they are, still doing their thing. They kind of came back from COVID, and they had a little bit of a struggle. Then they got kind of healthy on the San Jose Sharks. I think they play one more game. They beat them 3 times in a row. So here we go. Let's go to the playoffs and let's go from there. As always, like, comment, share. Let's talk about the things that matter. YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Big things happening as I move over to EXP, and really excited for all that. So let me know what you think of the new background. I lightened it up over here with the LEDs. I've changed the Why Invest Wednesday background, and then obviously the Salty Sisters with their sweet live edge stuff over here. The Colorado Sea, that sign is for sale, and I will just get a new one and continue to sell them for them. Super cool stuff. So check out that wood grain. It's sweet, isn't it? All right, guys. Hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Stay out of trouble, and goodbye.